ئەم کاتتان بە شاوڕێیان بەخێر بێن بۆ ئەم لایڤی پێیجی قونسوڵخانەی گشتی ئەمریکا لە هەولێر. وەکو لە ئاگاداریەکە باسمان کردبوو ئەم لایڤە تایبەتە بە ڤیزەی ئەمریکا و بۆ مەبەستەش مارک هاندلۆف ئۆفیسەر لە بەشی ڤیزە وەڵامی پرسیارەکانتان هەیەتەوە.
Katan Bash, it's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Mark Handloff, and I'm a consular officer here at the U.S. Consulate General in Erbil, Iraq. It's a pleasure to join you this afternoon, and I look forward to taking as many of your questions as I can about U.S. visas. Now, just to introduce myself, I am originally from Washington, D.C. Before coming to Erbil, Iraq, I served in Amman in Jordan for 2 years. Now, one of my favorite things about living and working in Erbil is honestly food. And if you would also like to leave any food recommendations in the comments section, I would love to try a new dish. It's one of my favorite things to do. So before we begin, I would like to offer a brief message for American citizens who may be watching. 2020 is an election year in the United States, and we hope that you will send your vote home. It's a very easy process. You need to look at www.fvap.gov. That's the Federal Voting Assistance Program. Once you're there, you can see more information on how to register to vote, how to get your ballot, and ultimately, how to prepare your ballot to send it home. Now, we can come in at the final step there. If you fill out your ballot completely, place it in a sealed envelope, you can then bring that envelope to the U.S. Consulate General here in Erbil, and we can mail it back to the United States. There is no postage required for this service, and we do hope that you'll participate in the election this year in the United States. Now, thanks very much for your attention so far. I look forward to answering all your questions, and Yar has agreed to help me by keeping me on track and bringing up all of the questions that you've asked so far. So please take it away.
Thank you very much for that, Mark. We will start with the very basic questions. If someone wanted to go or visit the United States, what they can do, how can they start their visa application, what are the process? What is the process?
Well, thanks for asking that. And I'm really eager to get to that because I want to make sure that there are no secrets when it comes to applying for and qualifying for a visa to visit the United States. But I do want to start with one thing, and that's COVID-19 or the coronavirus. Of course, we are all following this situation very closely, and it's constantly changing. First off, I would recommend that you look at our website at www.iq.usembassy.gov. That's the U.S. Embassy in Iraq website. Once you're there, we have a special page with the latest information that we have to share about COVID-19 or the coronavirus. When it comes to U.S. visas, though, what I would advise is that if you reside in, if you have traveled recently to, or if you intend to travel to China or Iran before your trip to the United States, we would recommend that you postpone your visa interview until 14 days after you depart from one of those two countries. So now that I've said or answered a question about coronavirus, I'll talk more generally about the process. Like I said, there are no secrets. All that you have to do to qualify or to apply for a U.S. visa is step one, fill the form. It's online. It's the DS-160 form for a non-immigrant visa. Step two, you have to pay the fee, and you pay the fee at the Bank of Baghdad branch, any one of them, and make sure you save your receipt. Step three, take a photo. We need a photo that is less than 6 months old. Step four, gather any required documents. Step five, make an appointment. And you do this online as well. So like I said, www.iq.usembassy.gov. I'm going to be sharing a lot of information that you can find on the internet because that's the place where you can constantly come back to see what the latest instructions or guidance might be. So once you've taken all of these steps, this is before you have your interview, then you make an appointment and you come in to meet with a consular officer. And that officer during the interview will conduct a thorough review of all of your qualifications. And at the end of the interview, you will know whether you qualify or do not qualify for a visa to visit the United States.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mark, for that. We have a question from Herman, which is also a question from many other people, and they require or they ask whether by having an invitation from the United States, will that guarantee them a U.S. visa? What is the answer to that question?
Well, first, Hemen, thank you for that question. That's a great one, and we saw that come up several times during the comments that we were asking, or where we were asking for questions. So, I would say, first off, it's great that you have friends in the United States, and we hope that you have a fantastic trip to go see them. However, under U.S. immigration law, every visa applicant must qualify on their own merits for a visa to travel to the United States. That means that it's great that you have a friend to go and see, but we care about you and your qualifications to go visit the United States.
Great. We also have many questions from people who are interested in studying in the United States. Will having admissions letter from a university in the United States guarantee a US visa? First of all, how can they apply to a US visa, and
Sure.
then whether or not having admissions from a university in the United States will qualify them to get the US visa?
Sure. Well, first off, I want to note that there are many outstanding universities in the United States, and there are a lot of young Iraqi students who are there right now studying and getting the tools that they need to improve their lives and also to improve their communities. So applying for a student visa is a little bit more difficult, or requires a little bit more work than applying for a standard tourist visa. In addition to all the steps that I mentioned earlier, you also need to have a form from the school called an I-20, and you have to pay a fee called the SEVIS fee and save the receipt. And we need you to bring both of those forms in with you when you come see us for your consular interview. Now, having an admission from a U.S. university is important, because otherwise you would have no reason to go study there, but it is not sufficient. During the interview, the consular officer will conduct a thorough review of all of your qualifications and will determine whether you qualify for a visa to study in the United States.
Okay, great. A follow-up to that question.
Sure.
How long before the start of their program students can apply to the student visa? Because sometimes there will be administrative processing, and what is your recommendation on that?
First off, we have not yet talked about what administrative processing is. So I want to answer that question first, and then I'll get into the rest of it. So first off, when you come in for your interview, like I said, a consular officer will look at your form that you filled out. They will look at the documents that you have brought. They will listen to the answers that you provide during the interview. And they will also check all of the systems that we have in front of us. So you may notice that the consular officer is spending more time, looking at their screen than they are looking at you. And we hope you understand that we want to respect your time and respect the time of all of our applicants, and that means we have to be extra efficient. It doesn't mean that we want to be disrespectful. So, that's administrative processing is something that can sometimes come up during the consular interview. And there are two things you need to remember about it. Number one, administrative processing can be mandatory. There is nothing we can do to waive the requirement or to make it go any faster. And number two, you can trust that whenever we have to conduct administrative processing, we will do it as efficiently as possible and let you know as soon as it's done. That means that you should have an answer, maybe not immediately, but shortly thereafter, hopefully, for when the administrative processing is complete.
Okay, before going back to the question on student visas, one follow-up question on administrative processing, and that is, I have applied to my visa, and they told me that it's in the administrative process, and I have waited for 6 months, and I haven't received an answer from you. What should I do?
Well, first off, I understand why we received this question a few times. There are many very motivated students who want to go and study in the U.S. And I appreciate your patience, because I know that you are eager to go and start your educational career in the United States. What I would say is that every single case is unique, and the facts that go into it are unique. And accordingly, the administrative processing can take a different amount of time for every case. What you can understand and remember, just two things. Number one, that it is mandatory, and number two, that we will advise you as soon as it's complete.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mark. Many of our audiences are speaking Kurdish, so I would like to translate some of
Please
that
do.
into
Yes,
Kurdish so that
absolutely.
they can understand the process. هاوڕێیان مەسلەی administrative process ئەوەیە دوای کە تەقدیمی ڤیزەکە ئەەکەیت مەرجنیە هەر لە هەمان ڕۆژە وەڵامت بدرێتەوە بۆیە هەنە جارە چێتە پرۆسێکەوە کە پێوترێ administrative کە پەیوەندی بە کاتگەریەوە هەیە کاتی زۆری پێ ئەچێت و هیچ یاسایەکی دیاریکراو نییە کە پێت بڵێت هەفتەی داهاتوو یاخود لە ماوەی چەند مانگێکە وەریگریتەوە بۆیە باشترین شت لەم حاڵەتەیە ئەوەیە کە هەموو ئەو دۆکیومنتانەی داوات لێ ئەکرێت تەقدیم بکەیت و پاشان چاوەڕێ بکەیت لە بەشی ڤیزای قونسوڵخانەوە پەیوەندی پێوە بکرێت و دەربارەی دەرەنجامی داواکاریەکەت بۆ ڤیزا وەڵام بدرێتەوە. So thank you very much, Mark. We have other questions, and of course, we would like to ask you about immigrant visas. Does the visa section at the U.S. Consulate General in Erbil process immigrant visas, and what's your answers to that question?
Sure. So first off, the difference between an immigrant visa and a non-immigrant visa. A non-immigrant visa is if you want to do a temporary trip to the United States, whether it be for studying, tourism, business, or medical care, or many other reasons. An immigrant visa is for somebody who intends to permanently move to the United States and acquire American residency and potentially American citizenship at some point in the future. So immigrant visas are not processed at the U.S. Consulate General in Erbil. If you would like to apply for an immigrant visa, the first thing you should do is go to www.travel.state.gov. There's a lot more information because there are many different types of immigrant visas, and every one of them has its own rules and qualifications. Far too many for me to list this afternoon. So go to the website, www.travel.state.gov, find the type of visa that you wish to apply for if you want to immigrate to the United States, and ultimately you'll have to apply for where you would like to have your immigrant visa processed. Right now, there are no immigrant visa processing posts inside Iraq. So you'll have to select an immigrant visa processing post that is outside of Iraq. And that would be my advice for anyone who wants to apply for an immigrant visa here.
Okay, thank you very much. That includes the fiancé visa, because we have a lot of people who ask about that kind of immigrant visa.
Yeah,
right?
I would say first off is congratulations on your engagement. It's a huge step. And I think that you have a lot to look forward to with your American citizen husband or wife in the future, and I wish you my personal congratulations. However, fiancé visas are processed the same as immigrant visas. So you need to start at www.travel.state.gov, where you can learn a lot more of all of the details and qualifications for how you can get a fiancé visa. And again, congratulations. This is a very positive step for you.
Okay, great. We have questions from people who complain that they have had visas from other countries, for example, a Schengen visa. They have been able to visit a number of countries around the world, but when they come to the United States, they are refused the visa. Will having the visa of another country affect a person's application to get a U.S. non-immigrant visa?
Well, like I said in the beginning, there is no secret, and there's no secret visa that you need to have in order to get a visa to the United States. Now, to your friend or to our colleague who was refused, at the time of your visa interview, if you were refused, you will receive a letter and also an explanation of the reason for your refusal. So that should provide you a little bit more information, and it's not because you don't have a visa to any specific country. So you can refer to that letter if you have any more questions about why you were refused. Now, second off, there is no visa where if you have it, you are automatically guaranteed a visa to travel to the United States. When you come in to meet with the consular officer, as I mentioned before, they will look at the visa form that you filled out, they'll look at the documents that you bring, they'll listen to all of the answers that you provide during the interview, and they'll also check the systems, and they'll take some notes while they're doing this just to make sure that if you meet with somebody else in the future, they're able to keep track of all of the details of your case. And so those are the things that you need to focus on when you're concerned about qualifying for a visa.
Thank you very much, Mark. We also have questions or actually inquiries from people who have been victims of scams. What is your advice for people in order to protect themselves against people who promise them US visas online or through emails or through phone calls or texts and so on?
Yeah, that is a very important question, Zenyar. And I hear sometimes from people who say that they paid money to a travel agent who promised that they would get a visa, or that someone they knew was selling visas. I can tell you, like I said in the beginning, there is no secret to getting a visa, and there are no secret fees. All of our fees are published, and they are all on our website. So we do not have a contract or relationship with any travel agency. You do not have to see any single person to complete the form for you in order to get a visa. It is not necessary at all. Likewise, if anyone tells you that you have to pay them money in order to get a visa, they are probably trying to take your money, and we are not affiliated with them. So if you want information, the right information, where should you go? First off, go to the source. Come to see us at our website, www.travel.state.gov. That's where you can get all of the information about the visa fees, about the application process. When you're ready to learn more, when you're ready to come and see us, go to www.iq.usembassy.gov. That's the website for the Iraqi embassy, and we have a section there for the U.S. Consulate General in Erbil. And we have even more information about fees and the appointment process. The thing to remember is that we do not have any secret fees, and we do not have any relationship with any travel agency.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Sure.
So your answer to that question was very important, and I'd like to translate a bit of that to our Kurdish viewers. So, وەکو بۆتان ڕوون کرایەوە تەنها سەرچاوە کە لە ڕێەوە ڤیزەی ئەمریکی وەرەگرن بریتە لە قونسوڵخانە یاخۆ سەفارەتی ئەمریکا بۆیە ئەگەر شوێنێکی با بڵێن ئەوەی کە پێیانەوترێت نووسینگەی گەشتیاری یاخۆ لە ڕێگەی ئیمێڵەوە یان هەر شوێنێکی تۆ پەیوەندیتان پێوەکرا کە ئەتوانن بە بڕەپارەیەک یاخود لە بەرامبەر پارەیە ویزای ئەمریکاتان پێشکەش بکەن کە ئاگادار بن کە ئەوانە هەر هەمووی کاری ساختەکارین و بە هیچ شێوەیەک پێویست ناکات با بڵێن پێویستە زۆر وریا بن و نەبنە قوربانی ئەو خەڵکانەی کە ئەیانەوێت ویزای ئەمریکاتان پێفرۆشن یاخۆ ساختەکاریتان بەرامبەر بکەن. وەکو باس کرا تەنها سەرچاوە بۆ وەرگرتن یاخۆ تەقدیمکردنی ویزای ئەمریکا بریتە لە وێبسایتی فەرمی کونسوڵخانە یاخۆ سەفارەتی ئەمریکا لەو شوێنەی کە لێی داهەنیشیت. Okay. We also have questions from people who sometimes complain that when they come to the US visa, when they come to the interview, that is to say, they complain that the consular officer doesn't look at the documents they have brought, such as documents to show that they own property,
sure,
or documents that they have X amount of money in their bank accounts.
Sure, sure. So first off, I see from our screen behind us here that we have nearly 400 people who are watching right now, and I want to say hi to all of you, and that I appreciate all the questions that you're sending us now. We hope to be able to get through as many as possible, and we're very excited to discuss this, and we hope that we'll see as many of you as possible in the future when you come in to see us at the consular window, and we hope that our information is as useful as possible. So you were asking about maybe someone who doesn't feel like they had a great experience visiting the consulate. And of course, I hope that everyone who is watching today and everyone who comes to see us, I hope that they have a very positive experience when they come to see us. This is from the moment that they arrive outside, they go through the security screening, they come into our waiting room, and then when they meet with the consular officer. But what I want you to understand is that we have a lot of information that we have to get through in a very short amount of time. Like I said, we're going to look at the visa application form that you filled out, the DS-160. We're going to look at the documents that you brought. We're going to listen to the answers that you provide, and we're going to check the information that is contained in our systems. And we'll take all of this information together when we make our decision. it may be that certain documents which you bring are not helpful to the information that we need to make our decision. It doesn't mean that we don't appreciate that you brought them. It just means that we have other information that we need. And so that's why we'll sometimes ask you questions instead of wanting to look at documents. So I hope that answers your question.
Okay, thank you. We have also questions from people who want to visit the United States in order to seek treatment.
Sure.
How can those people apply for a US visa? Is it different from the tourist visa that other people get? And yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that question. There is, in the United States, there is not a special visa qualification or category for medical treatment in the United States. If you wanted to go to the U.S. to apply to go for a visa to the United States for medical treatment, then you would apply for a standard B1, B2, or short tourist visit visa. Now, I would say that if you do intend to seek medical treatment in the United States, it's very important that you arrive with a good solid understanding and explanation of what you want to do and where you want to do it and a clear idea of your intent. So that would be my advice if you intend to apply for a visa to seek medical treatment in the U.S.
Okay, thank you, Mark. So we have a number of questions from the people who have tuned into our live, and one of the questions is from Hajar, who's wondering whether or not having already received a US visa but not using it because of family reasons or personal reasons, will that affect their application next time they apply to a US visa?
Hey Hajar, thanks for reaching out to us. Thanks for asking your question. I think that the important thing to remember in cases like this is that we can't judge the specific information of your case right now, but the way to know if you qualify for a U.S. visa is to apply for one. At the time of your application, when you give us the form, the fee, the photo, and the interview, at that point you will get your answer about whether you continue to qualify for a U.S. visa. Of course, anyone's situation can change over time, so I really wouldn't be able to say unless you applied for a visa and came in for an interview.
Thank you again, Mark. So you already answered that question, but a lot of people are actually wondering about a DV lottery visa. That is, they are DV lottery winners, and they're wondering whether or not they can apply to that visa at the U.S. consulate general in Erbil.
Sure. So first, the DV lottery. It's the Diversity Visa Lottery. This is a program that's administered by the Department of State, where we offer certain numbers of people the opportunity to qualify for an immigrant visa to ultimately immigrate to the United States. That's what the DV lottery is. I think that there's one thing about the DV lottery that I really want to highlight first, which is the DV lottery has sometimes been there are travel agents and there are others who will try to take advantage of people by guaranteeing that they get selected as part of the diversity visa lottery. This is not possible. There is no secret to getting a diversity visa selection, and anyone who tells you that if you pay them money that they will get you a diversity visa, they are not telling you the truth. So if you want more information about the diversity visa lottery, check out www.travel.state.gov. There is a lot of information and there are a lot of resources about the diversity visa there. There's also a special page I'd like to highlight which talks about some of the common scams or fraud schemes that people try to do against applicants for the diversity visa lottery. Now, the diversity visa is an immigrant visa, and we do not process immigrant visas here at the U.S. Consulate General in Erbil. If you would like to process your diversity visa, then you would need to select a post for processing it that does process immigrant visas for Iraqi citizens.
Okay. So, Mark, we have also complaints from people sometimes that the U.S. visa is only for people who have positions in government, or they are politically affiliated and so on. Is that true, or is it the U.S. visa for everyone? That is just for ordinary citizens as well as people, whoever wishes to apply for a visa.
Sure. So First off, I hope that your friend and everyone else who comes to see us, they have a good experience, because I enjoy working here, and I enjoy that I get to interact with so many people who come to see us from all of the corners of Iraq and of the IKR. So what I would say is that there is no secret, and sometimes people come to see us and they are unfortunately not qualified for the visa that they seek. That said, I can tell you that there are many Iraqis every day who qualify for visas and then ultimately go and travel to the United States for tourism, for business, for to see their family and friends, to seek medical treatment, and for many other reasons. So don't select yourself out of the possibility that you could qualify for a visa if you don't even come to see us to try. So I hope that answers your question, and that you also have a good experience when you come to visit the U.S. Consulate General in Erbil.
Great. Another type of common question that we receive is someone asks, I was refused a U.S. visa, how long till I can apply again?
We do not take it into account when you come to see us to apply for a visa, how long it has been since your last visa or your last refusal. There is not a mandatory waiting period, is what I mean to say. If you came in to get a visa and you were refused, and you believe that you still do qualify for a visa, I would say this after you've read the letter that we give you, and after you've gone to travel.state.gov to read more about the visa process and some of the conditions that you have to meet to qualify for a visa. So if after you've read the letter and you visited the website, you believe that you qualify for a visa, there is no mandatory waiting period. You may apply whenever you decide to.
Thank you, Mark. Again, I would like to translate your answer to this question. أو برسالة باوي كأكريت كآية كسك كاتك تقديمي فيزا أكاد ورفض أكريت چەند نەیتر دوای ئەوە ئەتوانێت تەقدیمی ڤیزە بکاتەوە وەکو مانک ئاماژەی پێکرد لە سیستەمی ڤیزەی ئەمریکیە هیچ ڕستریکشنێک یاخود ڕێگریکردن نییە لەوەی کە تەقدیمی ڤیزە بکەیت دەتوانیت ڕاستەوخۆ دوای ئەوەی کە تەقدیمی ڤیزە کردو دووبارە تەقدیمی بکەیتەوە بەڵام پێویستە لەبیرت بێت کە ئەگەر دۆخەکەت گۆڕانکاری پەسەرانێت یاخود ئەگەر زانیاری تازەت نەبێت لە مقابلەی داهاتووە دەرەنجامی ڤیزەکە بە هەمان شێوە بێت. So we have another question from Haukar, who's wondering whether or not by working with an international organization such as an American organization, will that make it easier for him to get a US visa?
Zanir, I appreciate that question. I see one on the screen here that I want to make sure we get to.
Yes.
So I see a question here from Ninos, and he asks whether an applicant who is Christian is automatically going to be refused. And I want to say definitively that your religion does not matter when you apply for a visa to visit the United States of America. We have all approved visas for people of all faiths, and there are Iraqi travelers of all faiths who visit the United States every day and every year. So I want to make it crystal clear that an applicant's religion is not important when they choose to apply for a visa to travel to the United States. And I appreciate that, Ninos, but I will say that a third time. Your religion is not important when you apply to travel to the United States.
That includes the places they are from. For example, there are people who have complained that a US visa is only for citizens of Erbil. So.
Yeah, again, I would say that every day we see visa applicants from all over Iraq, from the northern border all the way down to the southern border, and every day we look forward to meeting these people and to determining whether they qualify for a visa, and if so, to supporting their desire to travel to the United States. And so it is not important where you're from in Iraq, and it is not important what your religion is.
Great. So I would like to remind you of Haukar's question, and that is
sure, yeah, please.
The fact that he's working with an international organization. Would that make it easier for him to get a US visa?
Like I said in the beginning, there is no secret to how you get a U.S. visa. And it's not necessarily important who you work for, whether it's a U.S. company, an international company, or an Iraqi organization. I have seen visa applicants from all categories of employment, and many of them have qualified for a visa to travel to the United States. The most important thing that you can do is show the consular officer during your interview that you have good ties to Iraq and that you intend to return at the end of your visit. And based on that, it's not necessarily important work.
Great. So we have one last question, and that is people who want to go to the United States because they want to do business or investment visas and so on. What kind of visa they can apply to, and what are the required documents for those people?
Sure. Now, I promised Zenyar that I would not get overly technical in our discussion, and I'm going to hold myself to that. I'm not going to get overly technical right now. What I am going to say is that for for a whole wealth of information, including the technical stuff, you can go to www.travel.state.gov. There is information about the different types of investor visas that you can get there. However, what we see very commonly are applicants who represent Iraqi or international businesses who want to travel to the United States to do business. This is a permitted activity on a B1, B2 tourism business visa. So whether that is conducting meetings or attending a conference or buying a product or selling a product, these are acceptable activities that you can do on a standard B1, B2 visitor visa. So the B1, B2 is the most common, and this is also the one with some of the simpler qualifications too. All you have to do, fill out the form. It's a DS-160 and it's available online. Number 2, pay the fee. Number 3, get a photo. Number 4, make an appointment. And number 5, show up at your appointment. Come and visit us at the U.S. Consulate General in Erbil, and we will conduct a thorough review of your qualifications to determine whether you qualify for a visa to visit the United States of America.
Thank you very much again for answering all those questions, Mark. And I would like to remind our viewers that if we didn't have time or we were not able to address their questions, we will later on respond to their questions in the comment section. Do you have any closing remarks? What are your recommendations for people who would like to visit the United States on a non-immigrant visa?
Absolutely. Thanks very much, and Zenyar for running this live discussion. And thank you to you folks for participating. Whether it be the 300 people who are watching right now, the hundreds of people who sent in questions and comments, and all of those who are sharing their thoughts right now. And I appreciate that we've had the chance to get to so many of your questions, but I know there are dozens or hundreds more that I have not been able to get to. So I apologize, but I'm not done. Keep leaving your questions in the comments here. We'll get to as many of them as we can in the comments. Now, if I answered something and you have an additional follow-up question or you have a question about your case, you're also welcome to email us. We aren't able to talk about visa information on the phone, but we can do it by email. Our email address is erbilniv@state.gov. We'll post that up here too, but it's erbilniv@state.gov. And we'll do our best to get back to you by email as quickly as possible. So once again, I want to thank you all for watching. I want to thank you for your questions, and I look forward to seeing you again soon, hopefully at the window at the U.S. Consulate General here in Erbil.
زۆر سپاس دووبارە هاوڕێیان بۆ بەرجاریکردن لەم لایڤە وەکو ئاماژەمان پێکرد ئەگەر نەمانتوانی بێت وەڵامی هەموو پرسیارەکانتان بینەوە هەوڵێن لە ماوەیەکی زۆر نزیکە لە ڕێگەی نامە و کۆمنتەکانەوە وەڵامی هەموو پرسیارەکانتان بینەوە دووبارە زۆر سپاس و کاتێکی خۆش.